Hello, how are you doing? We are back with another Honkai lore discussion stream. It's been a while. I think it's almost a month since my last stream, but it has been a very busy period for me with the release of Honkai Star Rail and everything that's happening in Honkai Impact 3rd. I've been working like crazy on multiple videos, and I had to sacrifice some weekends to be able to work on them. But we are back, and today we are going to talk about Chapter 36, Act 1. But before we begin, please do not spoil anything from the CN server. I know that Chapter 36 is fully out, and even a part of Chapter 37 is out. Please do not spoil, we will only talk about things that are out on the global server and nothing more. Okay. Man. What do you think about the people that say about the foreshadowing of Astral Express visiting Teyvat in Himeko's trailer? I mean, it's not impossible if you look at it from a cosmological level, since Teyvat is also part of the Honkai Universe. So yeah, theoretically they can visit Teyvat. Will they? I don't know, because doing collabs between the games it's not an easy thing. I don't think that it will happen in the near future, but at some point, I mean, sure, I can see it happen. It wouldn't be impossible. Oh yeah, and after we finish the breakdown for Chapter 36, Act 1, I want to take a brief moment to talk about Honkai Star Rail and how it connects to the Honkai Universe, because I see a lot of misinformation going around, and I wanted to take some time to try to explain how the Honkai Universe works and how all the HoYo games are connected. Because there are some things that people interpreted wrong, which is understandable since it's very complicated, and HoYoverse usually has a lot of issues with the localization. It's not consistent at all. So yeah. I was initially planning to do Chapter 36 a bit later, but then I saw a stream announcement from you regarding the new chapter, and I was like, oh, I have to do it now. Wait, are you saying that you are doing Chapter 36 right now? I think Star Rail is connected to APHO2. I mean, Star Rail is connected to the entire HoYoverse. Lore talk, yeah. I really missed doing these streams. No, I have already completed it, so I could participate in the discussion, and it's... Oh, I see. I see. For a moment I thought that you're doing it right now. That makes more sense. Yeah, I assume that not many people tackled the new story with the... I saw a lot of people that took a break after part 1 ended because it was a lot for them, and with Star Rail right around the corner, it makes sense, right, to take a break, to let the story settle down first and play after that. And honestly, it's not compared to the previous chapters. This was a pretty light-hearted chapter. It was very short. I think it was an hour, a bit over an hour of the playthrough. So yeah, it's not that much to talk about. Metal is, but it's good if you if you're up to date, because we are gonna discuss some stuff that happened in this chapter. I like the tone of this act, felt refreshing after the ending of part 1. I mean, yes, it really felt a lot more relaxed. I mean, the stakes aren't that high. Just a few chapters ago we were fighting for the survival of humanity and the fate of Earth. Now it's a bit more relaxed. Now we are playing detectives. Why did Atlantis, I think, appeared in the 1.5 concept trailer? Atlantis? If you're referring to the new zones that they shown in the concept trailer, I think those will be part of the new arc, because they showcased the concept art for those, I think, in the Honkai launch for version 6.4. And if you remember the Honkai launch for 6.5, they mentioned that this chapter will begin in Nagazora and will end somewhere else. We do not know where, but that's what they said. Did you see the trailer when they first announced Starrel in Honkai Impact Starfire live concert? Yeah, I saw that. I think it would be cool if they did a collab with both Honkai Impact Third and Genshin Impact. I mean, yes, but you have to understand that doing collabs, it's very hard, because it has to be something that the players of the game want, and this is why we have collabs with Genshin in Honkai and not otherwise, because from a business perspective it doesn't make any sense to do a collaboration with Honkai between Genshin, for example, and Honkai Impact Third inside Genshin Impact, because I can guarantee you that the majority of the players who play Genshin do not play Honkai Impact. But instead in Honkai Impact it's the complete opposite, and I think that a good part of the Honkai players play Genshin Impact, so it makes more sense to do the collab in Honkai Impact than do it in Genshin, where nobody knows about Honkai. So I think it depends on how popular Star Rail will be, and they will probably do some in-game polls to see if a big amount of players play Star Rail for them to justify doing a collab. And this is from a business perspective. Even if they would like to do, they also have to take in consideration the business aspect of a collaboration. And also that's why we have, I think we have 3 or 4 collaborations between GGZ and Honkai Impact Third, but for the same reason, they all happen inside GGZ, not inside Honkai Impact Third. Hi Homo, sorry, I just got here. Hello Erwan, hello. Hello Gray. Awesome. Okay. Will you upload a video about Star Rail in the future? Yes, I will upload it this Thursday. And I am also working on a Honkai Impact 3rd video on the same time, because this was a very stressful period, because I was working on 2 videos on the same time, and both of them are pretty big videos, and I had to do a lot of research for them. And we'll most likely post the Star Rail one this Tuesday, and I will post, hopefully, I will post the Honkai Impact 3rd one the next weekend. So maybe Saturday, the next Saturday or next Sunday, I'm not sure. It depends on how the editing will go. So yeah, I have a lot of video ideas for the future, and honestly I feel pretty overwhelmed by everything that's happening, but at the same time it's very fun, and I'm looking forward to do all this content. Who are you planning to pull for in Star Rail? Planning, honestly, right now only for Sele. I think I will stream Star Rail on the 26th, and the first thing I will do will be pulling for Sele and her light cone. And after that I do not have any real plans. I also have to keep in mind the fact that I will, just like in Honkai Impact 3rd, I will be a low spender, probably going only for the Battle Pass and the monthly card. So I won't have the means to pull for every characters, right? So I have to pick and choose. But of course I will prioritize the Honkai Impact 3rd characters that are exported to Star Rail. But other than that, from the Star Rail original cast, I would say I'm interested in Kafka, in the moment, and in Fushuan whenever they will become playable. So yeah, there's a lot of cool characters, and it's okay because a lot of the characters that I really want, like Bronya, like Himeko, like Walt, are on the standard banner, so hopefully I will get them eventually. And how about you guys? Are you excited for Star Rail? Three more days to go. We need Star Rail Kiana. I mean, at some point, for sure it will happen. They must. It's a Honkai game. You can make a Honkai game and not include Kiana, right? I love Kafka's English voice more. I always use JP voices. I think this time I will use English in Star Rail. Yeah, I also... When they first announced Star Rail, I was like, there's no way for me to play this game in English after I was conditioned to hear their voice in Japanese for so long. I mean, I was like, for me Himeko is Himeko only with the Japanese voices. And I was very adamant about the fact that I will play this in Japanese. And CBT Trey came around, and I wanted to focus on the lore, and I realized that reading so much, because I don't understand Japanese, and I had to read every bit of text, was so exhausting that I gave up and switched the language to English. And honestly, I really didn't expect to like the English dub so much. I really think that I will not play in Japanese from now on, because I got used to it over the beta, and I think they did a pretty good job with the dubbing. Yeah, there's a lot of characters from Honkai Impact that I also want to see in Star Rail. Very excited. I also want Honkai Impact 3 characters. I hope to get Welt so much, and May if she comes out. Imagine a version of May. Oh my god, I think I would break my wallet for that one. Can't wait for you to discuss the lore of APHO2. Big fan. I mean, we can do a stream in the future where we go deep into APHO2. Especially since, do you think they will APHO3 will come out this year? Because I really think that we will get APHO3 around fall or winter. Because I think it's time. It's more than a year already from the release of APHO2. English dub is so bad in my opinion. I mean, it's okay not to like it. Opinions are different from person to person, but I don't think it's bad from a technical standpoint. I think they really did a good job with the acting. I mean, there are some characters that I will say that, yeah, for sure, they sound a bit off, but overall I think they did a solid job. Wait, Homu is a May simp? Look. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I'm an everybody simp. Joking aside, I really like Mei and her character, and that's why I pulled for the Raiden Shogun in Genshin when she came out. And also for Yaemiko, I have this brain rot, right, to in all the HoYoverse games to pull for every Honkai Impact XP. I'll play Star Rail, but I'm not super excited. Feels a bit too much like Genshin. I mean, in a way, yeah. It feels the same, but it's also different. It feels like they really tried to combine both Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail and Honkai Impact 3rd. And yeah, it feels like a combination of both games for me. Same here, I want to pull for all Honkai XPs. Yeah. Do you think the community will be like Honkai or Genshin? Hopefully it becomes like the Honkai community. Slight toxicity but peaceful, unlike the other one. I mean, I feel like from personal experience, there's the only difference between the Genshin community and the Honkai community, it's the size. Because people are people at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter in which community they are part of. The Genshin community is just extremely large, so all the toxicity and all the negativity is much more evident than in Honkai, where the community is much smaller, so people are more chill. But it all depends on how popular the game will be. Honestly, maybe this is a hot take, but I do not think that Star Rail will be as popular as Genshin. Not even close, honestly. I do think it will be more popular than Honkai Impact 3rd because it's more accessible. It has English dubbing, it's on multiple platforms. The PC client is a lot better optimized. So yeah. It's hard to say. We'll have to see. What do you think about the start of the new chapter? It felt like it started out with a bang. I loved it. Chapter 36, yeah, it was pretty slow for the most part, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a lot, and I'm excited to see the direction that the story will take. Yeah, I've experienced some toxic stuff in Honkai. When people say Genshin fandom is worst, I disagree. There's just not a lot of them. Yes, I agree. I agree. I also saw some. I also saw good people and some very, very bad things in both communities. So yeah, like I said, people are people at the end of the day. It doesn't matter which community they are a part of. All right, before we are going to get in the analysis of the new story chapter, I will say I want to make one thing clear. I am caught up with what happens in chapter 36 and 37 from the CN server, because like I said in the previous stream, being a lore content creator, I have to be up to date with the CN server to know what's happening in the lore, to not work on a video and have the surprise after a few weeks of hard work that all I tried to do was already explained and I worked for nothing. So I usually try to keep up with the CN, but for this stream in particular, I will not mention anything past chapter 36 act 1. And again, I would like to ask of you to do the same, because some people, I would imagine that the majority of people actually do not keep up with CN and they like to experience the story on the global server. So even if I know what will happen, I will try to erase my brain for the next few minutes and try to reference and talk about things as if I don't know what's happening, if it makes sense. Is there info about ZZZ, because I like the gameplay there? Info regarding what? When it will come out? If it's connected with the Honkai Universe? Because for now there isn't much on ZZZ. Alright, let me switch to the... Alright. I wanted to prepare this, so... by the way, let me know if the music in the background is too loud or I need to up the volume. Your voice is very fitting for a narrating role in a game. Thank you. I to be honest, I always hated my voice, and I'm inclined to say otherwise, but I'm happy to see that people think that way. Yes, I'm also very excited for ZZZ, especially from a gameplay standpoint, because although I really like turn-based, to be completely honest, I much prefer the action RPG kind of gameplay. So yeah, I haven't delved at all in the lore of ZZZ. I will most likely do that when it will be closer to release, but for now I only saw the gameplay, and all I can say is that I'm very, very excited for it. Good. So we'll start with a short recap of what happened in chapter 36 act 1. Again, courtesy to Ira Delasi for providing us with the footage for this chapter. And now I will leave this playing in the background as I talk with Wait, the rest releasing GGZ. Did I say GGZ? I wanted to say ZZZ. Man, it's complicated with these names. Okay, so like I said, there's not much going on this chapter. It was a pretty short, a pretty chill chapter, but there are some points I like to mention. And first is Cele, right, and her growth as a character. Because I had a very interesting discussion with a friend yesterday about her characters, and we talked about. I mean, as you observed, if you play through the chapter, she's much more grown up, right? She's much more serious. She acts more like a proper adult rather than a child, like she did before. And we were talking about, is this justified? Is this too sudden for her to act like that? And we were trying to discuss, and my take on it was the following. We know that 6 months have passed since the end of chapter 35, about 6 to 7 months. Chapter 35 happened in December 2017, so this timeline wise would put us around June, July 2018. Now, you have to keep in mind that Cele is also, I think she's 16 years old, 16 or 17, and she's in her formative years, in her adolescence. And around this age, a person can change extremely a lot in a short period of time. And this combined with the fact that she literally helped and was directly involved with fighting Ado and saving the world, I do not think that it's a stretch the way she's right now. Because if you look at the story, they've been teasing her growth ever since chapter 23. Yeah, ever since chapter 23. That whole chapter was about Cele and Veliona, with both of them having different issues, right? Cele having to grow up and trying to figure things out and not rely on Veliona so much, and for Veliona the opposite, making peace with the idea that Cele is growing up, right? And it's normal for her to not always rely on her and make new friends and be herself. And giving all of this, I think that the way she is right now, I mean, it's not that different from the Cele we know. She is still the same Cele, but she grew up. She's much more serious. She's a lot more mature. And I think that given the 6 months time skip, for me it makes sense. Her voice tone also lowered a bit. Yeah. I don't know if in Chinese as well, but in Japanese it's very noticeable. It's very noticeable. Oh, sorry, I must have misheard. I wasn't reading the chat. I was listening to the stream and cleaning the house. Yeah, no problem, okay, no problem. They kinda like two sisters in one body, Veliona being the more mature, younger one, and Cele being the more naive, older one. Yeah, and if we go lore-wise, Veliona was born precisely because Cele needed to mature very quickly, and that was impossible for her because she was scarce. She is a form that was born from her desire for protection, and her stigmata responded to that desire and created Veliona. And I think this arc, okay, I hope I'm a part of me hopes that I will be wrong, but I think that this arc, at the end of this arc, we might lose Veliona. Because if you remember the trailer for version 6.5, at the end, it is shown that Veliona is somehow separate from Sele, and she tries to reach for her and collapses. And if we go by how the story presented Veliona and Sele's relationship thus far as one of codependence, because Sele wasn't mature enough to take care of herself and needed someone to protect her. I think this arc will be about Sele finally growing up and not needing someone to protect her. And I think that she and Veliona will separate. Now I do not know if Veliona will die or they will just separate in two different entities, or how is that possible. But I think that from a writing perspective, for me at least, that makes the most sense. I also don't want to see it, because I like them together and I would like to see them together, and I hope that I'm wrong, but from the writing pattern that I observed with HoYoverse, I think that's what's most likely going to happen. I agree, her growth makes a lot of sense. Feels like it'd be a bit unnecessary to show her the whole process. The time skip worked out fine. Yeah, maybe Veliona may become like Mistalin. I mean, she already is like Mistalin, because they are both forms. It's just that she's tied to Sele. But yeah. This is something I wanted to point out. If they do separate, I hope Veliona becomes more like Mistalin's existence. Yeah, I also think that it would be something similar and not just killing her. I mean, I hope they will not kill her. But who knows with HoYoverse, right? maybe they finished the Moon's origin and ending and Kiana's story on a relatively happy note to bombard us with a lot of depression and sadness in the next part. They were like, okay, we are planning to do some nasty stuff in the next part, so here, take this happy ending, enjoy the happiness while it lasts, because you won't get it for much longer. Yeah, but I hope not. And that's apparent even with the start. Her growth is apparent in the start of the chapter. We see her riding Project Bunny through the tunnel, and she talks with Susanna on the comms, and she's ambushed by the robots, and she deals with them very easily. She doesn't seem scared. She doesn't seem surprised. She's very confident. And after that she goes to Nagazora and meets up with Susanna. And another point of the discussion from this chapter is Susanna and her character. Because since 6.1, when they introduced Su Shang and made the Midnight Chronicles event, they started to really put the emphasis of Susanna, her growth of her character growth, and her importance in the story as a character. And honestly, that was a surprise for me. I didn't expect Susanna to be such an important character in the future. And especially with this recent event, the Meow Town escapade, they focused a lot on her character and her growth. And it's very nice to see her here together with Cell. I think this is a odd combination, but at the same time a combination that works really, really well. And even if not, it's not so evident like it is with Cele, Susanna also grew a lot over the past few years. If you think about when she first appeared in the London Holiday manga and the second key to where is now, in my opinion, is a very big jump, because even if she still is pretty doubtful of her own strength, I can see her that she's a lot more confident than she was back then, and she's also a lot stronger. And if you think how strong she got over such a short period of time, I think that they tease her, and it's not impossible. I mean, it's pretty much a given that at some point in APHO, most likely she will be an S-rank Valkyrie, and I would really like to see her as an S-rank Valkyrie and have a new generation of Valkyries, right, that will fangirl over her and remember her journey, how she got into this position. And yeah, like you said, she is secretly OP, and if she would have a bit more confidence in herself, I think that that S-rank Valkyrie is not such a distant dream like she thinks. My guess is that she is one of Timido's teachers. I mean, it was confirmed, if I remember it correctly, that Timido learned to fight from Susanna's tutorials on the internet, because we know that she has a show with Stan, which was teased in APHO 2 and later confirmed in the event at the end of the Meow Town escapade. And I know that Timido mentioned the fact that she learned how to fight by watching Susanna's videos. So I think it was confirmed that basically Susanna is Timido's teacher. And it makes sense, right? Because Timido's fighting style is focusing a lot on elegance, and Susanna's fighting style, it's the same because she's a dancer. So yeah, that makes sense. Will you cover the Star Rail's lore too? Yes, I will do. I will cover. I also have a video that will be posted in 2 days on the channel about the lore of Star Rails, and even if in this stream I want to talk a bit about Star Rail and the overall lore at the end. Wait, wasn't she retired in APHO, Susanna? I don't think so. The only thing that it's mentioned about her is that she has basically a channel on the internet where she has a show together with Stan, where she invites different Valkyries. It wasn't mentioned anything about her, but I don't see a reason why she should be retired. And I mean, if May is still active, and so should be Susanna. Honkai Impact character animations in conversation getting better and better. Yeah, I noticed too. If you look back at the earlier chapters, right, the Taishuan, the Mao Taishuan arc with the Senti, the Theater of Domination, that had really stiff animations compared to this. Oh my god, it's the improvement on the facial expressions. It's miles better. We need more Louis Senpai in Honkai Impact. Yeah, I agree. Hopefully, maybe with APHO 2, if Carol, APHO 3, if Carol plays a bigger role, maybe Louis will get more screen time. So yeah, this was another point, Susanna's character. I think that she grew a lot, and she will continue to grow. And like Cele, she will play a very important role in the future of the Honkai Impact 3rd. Okay, so the main conflict of this arc is basically a new organization arised, right? That as Nagazora was starting to be rebuilt, a new organization called Incognito has arrived and started to break havoc. And basically, Cele and Susana are here to investigate the organization. And we see here when they contact the HQ, they talk with Einstein and Tesla about how Incognito basically put a barricade in Nagazora for no one to be able to enter or to leave, and Cele basically broke it with Project Bunny. And they mentioned this again, and this is a fact that surprisingly I thought more people knew, but about Project Bunny's relationship with Cele, because in the Azure Waters manga, the original owner of Project Bunny is actually Cele, not Bronya, and Cele gifted Project Bunny to Bronya. But because Project Bunny spent so much time with Bronya and underwent so many changes together with Bronya, it adapted to Bronya's fighting style. And even though Cele can use it, they reveal here that she cannot recharge it. Only Bronya can recharge Project Bunny here. So basically, she's unable to use it anymore from this point on. Oh, and isn't Honkai getting an engine update soon? I'm hyped that the current animation and better graphics Honkai is going to look so good. Yes, they teased what we believe is it's an engine update. We don't really know because they just dropped that thing and left it there. So we don't really know if it's for the whole game. It will be only for the newer content, for part 2. What changes will this bring? Are they planning to change the UI together with this upgrade? There's a lot of questions, and I hope that they will tell us more about their plans with this supposedly engine upgrade. I thought Carol will be a character in Star Rail when they show us the trailer in Starfire concert, but now I think I was wrong. Okay, I also had this discussion with multiple people and I thought about it a lot. I do not think that Reborn 2 is canon. I think that it's just a concept trailer in the same way that Reborn 1 is a concept trailer, because I read a interview recently with the producer of the Honkai series, David Chiang, and he produced GGZ, Honkai Impact 3rd and Star Rail. And he said in that interview that they initially planned for Star Rail to start on Earth, on the Honkai Impact 3rd Earth. So I imagine that Reborn 2 is a concept for that, for their initial plan. But they changed their mind, and we have the beginning that we have in Star Rail. And I do believe that they wanted Carol to be part of it initially, but I don't think she is right now. I think that Carol will continue to be part of the APHO storyline, and maybe even part 2, why not, depending on what they want to do with part 2. If they want part 2 to be a direct continuation of APHO, yeah, I would imagine that Carol will be playing an important role there. So yeah, I don't think that Reborn 2 is canon, and I don't think that Carol, unfortunately, I don't think she will be in Star Rail. Oh yeah, that was the interview with the Kiseki series producer, right? Yes. That's the interview. Also, can we talk about Bronya and Welt and Reason Studio? Hello. So basically, if I understand this correctly, Bronya and Welt are retired. Honkai is no longer a threat. Everything's fine, and they said, "Bye, you're on your own now. We are going to make anime and games." And Walt basically opened an animation studio, and Bronya is working as an intern there. And what was funny, if you go back, because how this scene was presented was that Sele and Susanna had no idea about what Bronya was doing. They thought that she's on this secret mission that's very important. And you look at the reactions of Einstein and Tesla, who knew what's happening. And Susanna is like, "Oh, it must be a very important mission." And Tesla is there like almost face palming herself. But yeah, I thought it's very sweet. And it makes sense, right, for with how part 1 ended, which basically was Kiana's story, but at the same time it was also Bronya and May's story. So, as I don't know how to put it, as disappointing it might be for some people, I expect May and Bronya to also appear less in the future story arcs. And it's fine, honestly, they did so much for humanity that they deserve a break. They deserve to just go on with their lives and do what they want to do with it. Because this is what they fought for, right? To eliminate the threat of the Honkai so that people of the Earth can lead peaceful lives and do what they want to do. Homo Labs, do you hope that Carol will be in Star Rail? Maybe, fingers crossed, somewhere down the line, if assuming they're not giving the full details in the interview you mentioned? I don't know. I honestly don't think so, but who knows? It's not impossible. It's not impossible. They may bring Carol at some point, but we also have in Star Rail Welt mentioning the fact that he came to the world of Star Rail with a friend, and it was mentioned that that friend is a male and it has blonde hair, which points to Void Archives and not Carol. So yeah, I don't think we will see Carol anytime soon in Star Rail, but who knows? Never say never. To be honest, all the APHO characters are almost all revealed. Yeah, they all appeared at some point. Lyle on the moon, Carol in the event. We have not seen Timmy though. I think she's the only one missing, and to be fair, it was never confirmed that the child that May saved in chapter 24 was Adam. It's highly probable, but they never confirmed it. Is Welt and Yang is different person? Welt Yang is his full name. Okay, so his history is very, very complicated. Welt's real name is Joachim Nokian Vartanen, and he inherited the name Welt from the previous Herrscher of Reason, Welt Joyce, and Yang is the name of her mother. So after Welt Joyce passed the Herrscher Court to him, he changed his name from Joachim Nokian Vartanen to Welt, which is Joyce's name, and Yang, which was his mother's name, if this is what you ask. So Welt Yang is basically the sovereign of the anti-entropy and the second Herrscher of Reason. Or if you ask if the Welt from Star Rail is the same as the Welt from Honkai Impact 3rd, then yes, they are the same person. I have hopes for Sora being a future APHO character. Honestly, with the amount of teasing that Sora got in the past few chapters, I think she will be part of APHO 3. Because it makes sense, right? Because Lyle is already part of APHO, and we know that Sora and Lyle grew up together. So I expect to see Sora as well. In your theory, who is Adam in APHO? Who is Adam in APHO? The main character? I mean, he's just a guy that has a stigma and immense Honkai adaptability, which basically allowed him to enroll at same Freya and become one of the few males that is able to wield Honkai energy. If this is what you ask. Who is the current leader of Anti-Entropy? Now it's not Welt, right? Yeah, they mention in this chapter, right? And this is another thing I want to talk about. Basically, Anti-Entropy and Schicksal fused. It is mentioned in by Einstein and Tesla, since there is Otto is gone and the threat of the Honkai is at bay for now, at least. There was no reason for them to be separated anymore. So both Schicksal and Anti-Entropy now merge into one single organization, and there was this contention point between who is gonna be the leader. Teresa, who is the Schicksal Overseer, or Welt Yang, who is the Anti-Entropy Sovereign. But as we learn in this chapter, Welt basically said, I'm done, and he left to make anime, and left Teresa in charge. So now Teresa, I would imagine she is the leader of both Schicksal and Anti-Entropy. I think Sora will be part of Cele's squad. Yeah, maybe. They also use Sora's model in the engine update concept. Pretty suspicious. Yeah, it may be, but I wouldn't read too much into that. I think they used her more so like a placeholder, honestly. But who knows? I may be wrong. Yeah, Grandpa Welt finally retired. They're still in the process of merging. I mean, yeah, I would assume so. I mean, both Schicksal and Anti-Entropy are two very, very big organizations. I don't think that a merger between the two can happen overnight. There's a lot of technical and logistical stuff that they must take care of first. But overall, yeah, they are basically one single organization. Okay, and after that, we have Incognito, which is this new mysterious organization that threatened to take over the whole city of Nagazora, and Cel and Susana are here to investigate them. And Tesla and Einstein have basically got a guide for them who is supposedly very familiar with Nagazora, and of course it is Sora, who is showing them around. And after that they basically start to investigate the activities of Incognito in the area, and heard that there was an incident reported by the locals last night, and this is where the whole detective game happens, when they start talking with people and start to gather evidence. And I really like that thing that they did with the dialogue with Cele, that you have multiple options, and as the player you have to choose which do you think is the most likely to happen. I mean, it didn't have much depth or much importance to the overall plot, because if you chose wrong, they would brush it off and let you choose again until you chose the correct answer. But I thought that was a pretty nice and a pretty fun thing to do. Homo Labs, do you think HoYo Universe will have emotional damage depression parts in the story? Stockholm Syndrome is quite... I mean, it's HoYo Universe, and we didn't have a character from the main cast die in a pretty long time. I think it's time for someone to go. But joking aside, I don't know. I think that I do not think that part 1.5 will be very depressing, honestly, but I think that part 2 might have some pretty depressing themes. It was fun, it was like playing a mystery game, right? It's also fun seeing Sora's growth from Nagazora arc to now. Yeah, she's also grown a lot, and I'm not sure, but I think they made some small changes even to the model. I don't know if it's just me, but she seemed a little bit taller. I'm still confused what will happen to Senti, cause no more Honkai, that means she can't exist, right? We do not know, because Kiana mentioned at the end of chapter 35 that not even she is sure what might happen to the Herrscher of Sentience. All we know is that Fuhua said that she will keep an eye on her. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Do you have a trio in mind for part 2? I don't know. It will be either the APHO cast or hear me out, an entirely new trio of characters that we do not know nothing about. And these are my guesses at the moment, because I don't think it will be someone that we are focusing on right now. I mean, it won't be Kiana, Mei, and Bronya, since, of course. I also don't think it will be Cele, Fuhua, or Teresa, because I mean, Cele and Susanna are the focus of the story right now, and Fuhua, she's already old, very old, let her rest please. And I also don't think that it will be Teresa, since she will be busy with being the overseer. So it will be either one of the squads of APHO, or if the part 2 won't be about APHO and they will do an entirely new story, I also can see a new trio of characters that we haven't seen before. And who knows, maybe they'll bring about some characters from GGZ. I would really like to see Kyusho in the story of Honkai Impact 3rd. Then that would be a nice touch. Maybe Senti will need to live on the moon with Kiana when Honkai North gets too low. I mean, that's possible. They could play games together. I can see that happening. I could see a totally new trio with underdeveloped characters from part 1, like the Vodka Girls having a supporting role. Yeah, Rosalia and Lily are very interesting, because I do think that they have a lot of potential as characters, but they were very underutilized in part 1, and they were more like comic reliefs, right? And even in events, with the exception of Belta's story in the Captain verse, even in the events they are most likely there for comic relief. So I would like to see them more developed, but I would like to see them in APHO too. In APHO, to be honest, not in part 1.5, because I would like to see them grown up. How did Sora overcame her memory loss? I don't think she did, because she still has Mark II to remember things for her. At least on the moon, we know that she still had memory problems, because she didn't even remember the names of Durandal and Sushang when she talked with Cele, and she said that she asked Cele to look for Mark II because and she mentioned that she still has memory problems. And I would imagine it's the same now, but she now has Mark II with her, so they didn't focus on on showing us how she still has those memory problems. But yeah, moving on. They started interrogating people. They didn't find anything that was very important until they found this house with a little girl, and she was actually the one who alerted them to the incident last night with the Incognito, and tells them that they basically broke into a warehouse at the end of the road. They used some weird tool to make a hole to open the door, and when she reported the incident, the security officers didn't take her seriously because of course she was a child, and we all know that adults tend to not take children seriously even if things like this happen and it's really important. And there was supposedly an old person living at the weird house. Yeah, and what stood out to me is that the girl also mentioned that there was a cloaked man who was supposedly their leader, and she took a peek at his face and she saw that the man didn't have a face. And I do not know about you guys, but this immediately brought me to think about Grey Serpent. Because if you think at all the characters we know about in the story, who is the most likely to fit that description? And I think it's him. And maybe there are some few great serpents that survived, because they didn't really made it very clear. We know that in chapter 34 basically Grey Serpent 1904 with the help of Jackal and I Lambda basically hacked into the network of the Grey Serpents and destroyed it, and that's why the golden serpent died at that point. And my understanding of the chapter is that every Grey Serpent died after that, but maybe that's not true. Maybe they didn't die, but they lost the ability to be a hive mind, to communicate with each other, to be this network of Grey Serpents. And I don't know, maybe some of them formed another organization. But also could be just some new robots. I mean, we do not know. But yeah, that's one thing that this reminded me of. Can the vodka twins grow naturally, since Mantis can't age and Teresa only did it when activating her Mantis genes in chapter 35? That's a good question. I don't know, because I think there are differences between Teresa and the twins, because Teresa was created with the genes of Vishnu implemented in her. Meanwhile, the twins are basically like a chimera. They only have parts of Honkai beasts attached to them. So I'm not sure if you can consider them a mantis. In a way you can, but I don't think that they are a complete mantis like the previous era, or not even at the same level as Teresa. So I think that they can grow. I mean, if HoYo wanted for them to grow, I'm sure that they could come up with a reason to say, hey, they grow because of this or because of that. So I don't know. I would imagine that yes, they have the ability to grow. And after this this happened, they went to investigate the warehouse, right, that was broken in. And they knock on the door, but no one answers. They enter, and the place looks like it was robbed recently. And there are no signs of anyone being there right now. So they decide to continue their investigation. And they found that strange eyeball / surveillance camera. I don't know what that was. And again, that's something that reminds me of Grey Serpent. It's like his eye. Everything that happens here just screams Grey Serpent to me. And they also found some evidence that suggests that Bryce and Dobby, thank you for subscribing to the channel. And yeah, they find some evidence that suggests that the owner of the warehouse was in on the whole thing, and that he was aware that that goods are being transported from the warehouse. Yeah. They mentioned that it's a prosthetic eye at the end. Yeah, and they continue with the investigation. And that's when they hear a bang and a voice at the warehouse front door. And we hear a man that starts running, and Sel and Susanna chase him, and after they catch up with him, they return to the warehouse to interrogate him. And this man is, after a long talk and trying to figure him out, it turns out that this man is actually the owner of the warehouse. And they try to figure him out. And the man admits that he's the owner, and he says that they don't have any rights to search in his house because he's just an ordinary citizen, right? And in return, Sele says that he's not, since the only person that called for the security office last night was the witness and not the victim. So that means that he was also part of the whole thing. And the man tries to justify his actions by saying that the warehouse was empty and that Incognito didn't steal anything, so that's why he didn't call no one. But Sele proves him wrong again with the transaction notes that she found earlier. And after that, she finally is able to prove that the man was actually hoarding stolen goods from major warehouses after the Great Eruption here. And I think that's when she reveals that that ball is actually a prosthetic eyes, and that the man was stealing and selling medical supplies. And the act ends with them exposing this man, and an alarm is suddenly heard. And Susanna reveals that this is an alarm from their storehouse, and someone has infiltrated. The old man is so stubborn. I'm surprised Veliona didn't came out and smacked him. Yeah, that was pretty weird that we didn't saw Veliona at all during this act. I don't know. I mean, okay, I know what happened, but again, we are not supposed to know in this act yet. Remember, I erased my memory for a couple of hours. But yeah, it's interesting that they didn't show her. And it's very interesting how they started this arc, and I'm looking forward to see where they are going to go. And another thing I wanted to discuss: what do you guys think about the possibility of Sele becoming the Herrscher of Death? Because we know, right, that after chapter 35, Kiana is basically siphoning the Honkai energy on the moon, and she mentioned the fact that as time will pass, the Herrscher core will start to dim and eventually disappear altogether. And I saw a lot of discussions in the community that will she become, because we saw in chapter 35 that the dream that I Lambda had, which very clear showcased a future form of Sele. And many interpreted that as a Herrscher of Death. But we know, because Kiana is siphoning the Honkai energy, there shouldn't be any Herrscher cores. And we were thinking, I was thinking with a friend, how would it be possible for her to become the Herrscher of Death? And here is my theory. We know that basically Kiana is the Herrscher of Finality, and she serves the role of the cocoon, basically. And what is one of the cocoon's abilities is to give Herrscher authorities. So I would imagine that Kiana is able to grant Herrscher powers to whoever she wants at this point. So maybe at the end of this arc, and also because she's the Herrscher of Finality, I also think that she's aware of what's happening on Earth. If she wants, even if she's on the moon, I would imagine that she's capable of knowing what's happening with Sele or with the others in one way, shape or form, especially how they hyped her up and mentioned that she's a goddess. So I would see a scenario in which the situation gets out of control, and maybe Kiana grants Sele from the moon the authority of that, but it will be for a limited time, right? It will be a temporary form, just to deal with the situation on Earth, and after that she takes the power back to not rise the levels of the Honkai energy on the Earth. And that's a plausible situation for her to become the Herrscher of Death. On the other side, that form could be an entirely new form and have no relationship with the Herrscher of Death. I saw some people mentioning that she can awaken in the same way as Durandal. When she awakened her stigma, she became an equinox, right? Which we know that is a higher level of stigma awakened. And we know that Sele is a stigma awakened. So maybe that form is her equinox form, in the same way how Palatine's equinox is Durandal's equinox form. So these are my two theories regarding the future Sele battlesuit that we saw in chapter 35. Yeah, maybe she won't become a proper Herrscher, maybe something else of equivalent power. Well, didn't they say in chapter 35 that when they are disabled to resist finality, every human would be basically a Herrscher? They said that, but it's not very clear what they meant by that. I honestly do not think that every human will be powerful, will have the powers of a Herrscher, or that every human will be as powerful as a Herrscher. I think what Kiana referred to, that is that every human will be able to live in harmony with Honkai energy and finality like a Herrscher. Because I don't think they will make every human on Earth as powerful as a Herrscher. That would be a disaster, honestly, waiting to happen. We're closing into what should be the Herrscher of the year, so it will be interesting to see what they do. Yes, that's also a very, very interesting questions now with everything that happened in chapter 35. We won't get Hersher's stall anymore. And if not, what will be the equivalent of a Hersher? Because you know that each of the HoYoverse game has this big release. Like in Genshin you have the Archons, and in Honkai it was always the Hershers that people were excited about. And if Hershers are no more, what will take their place? But yeah, as I said, I think it's either Kiana grants her the authority of that for a limited period of time to handle the situation, or she awakens as an Equinox in the same way as Durandal did. And I honestly think that it's this. Now that I think about it more clearly, I honestly think it's the second one, because from chapter 28, they tried to portray this relationship of similarity between Cele and Durandal, with the Abyss Flower, and how they were both able to control it and share it. And we saw how Durandal grew and become Palatinus Equinox, and I think that Cele is most likely to undergo a similar transformation to Durandal rather than a Hersher. So yeah, Equinox Cele. And with that, this would be it for chapter 36. Yeah, like I said, not many things happened. It was a pretty chill chapter. Not many things to digest. So let me move back to the game. If Kiana can manipulate the Hersher cores from the Divine Keys to create Hershers with them. And we'll have to see. If you have any other, before we get into the Star Rail stuff, if you have any other questions regarding chapter 36, please feel free to ask. Oh, and I also reached max level with Mei, finally. Awesome. I didn't plan to time that this well, but I guess it happened. Yes, gaming with Prince, that would also increase the Honkai energy on Earth, and that's not ideal, but I also think that if the Earth was in danger or one of the characters was in danger, I don't think Kiana would hesitate to use her powers. This is why I'm so excited for APHO3, because now we know that Kiana's on the moon, and we know how APHO2 ended, and I firmly believe that we'll see Kiana again in APHO3, because the threat of the Sky People right now is just too much for her to ignore it. So yeah, if there are no other questions, let's talk a bit about Star Rail. And for that, I'm gonna bring out, give me a second. I want to bring out the good old paint. And let me put the chat box here. Yeah, the good old paint. Okay. The things with Star Rail are a bit interesting, because it's a new game in the Honkai series, a new HoYoverse games, and we all know that all the HoYoverse games are connected, right, through the imaginary tree. And with the release of Star Rail, I see many people discussing how these games are connected, especially how Honkai Star Rail is connected to Honkai Impact 3rd. And through these discussions, a lot of people use the term multiverse, right? But I will tell you now that is wrong, because they do not happen in separate universes. They happen in a single universe that the devs dubbed the Honkai Universe, in different worlds. Because what happened? Honkai Impact Third translated the word world as universe. And that's a mistranslation, because in the Chinese version they literally say world, not universe. But the English localization chose to translate it as universe, which creates some conflict with some later localization from Honkai Star Rail, and even some things from GGZ, and even Genshin Impact, as a matter of fact. So I want to talk about how the Honkai universe works. And basically the Honkai universe is formed by pockets of observable space. And these spaces can vary in size and can encapsulate solar systems, can encapsulate even galaxies, but they are finite in a sense. And they are all connected by the imaginary tree, which is not an actual tree, is a visualization scheme for a complex space-time structure. And the Honkai Impact Third is one of the worlds on the imaginary tree. And Honkai Star Rail doesn't happen in a separate universe. Honkai Star Rail happen in separate worlds. And it's not happening in a single world, because they mentioned that through the Star Rail, which is basically a railroad created by Akivili the Trailblaze, that uses imaginary energy to travel between the worlds, between the leaves on the imaginary tree. So let's try to visualize our imaginary tree. Okay, don't judge my artistic skills. They are not the best, but to have just a small idea. This is 1. This is 2. These are different branches. Hi Homo, how's it going? Hello Kata. Going pretty well. Welcome to everybody who's tuned in now in the stream. We just finished talking about chapter 36, Act 1 in Honkai Impact 3rd, and we are talking about the lore of Star Rail for a bit, and I will try to illustrate and explain how they are actually connected. And we have the imaginary tree. Now, this imaginary tree is basically the whole Honkaiverse. And one of the branches of the imaginary tree is, let's take this branch for example. This is we have here, this is the Honkai Impact 3rd universe. Right? This is the Honkai Impact 3rd universe. And we know from chapters 26 to 28, with the whole arc in Kalastan with Ado, that the imaginary tree is represented by time moving forward and branching in countless parallel worlds. And this is the world of Honkai Impact 3rd. Now, what Ado did is basically manipulate the imaginary tree to branch another world from the world of Honkai Impact 3rd out of it, where Scanlan is alive. And we have this world, which is basically HI3K, where it's the world where Callan survived, the world that Ado created. Now, when we know that these worlds, uh, based on the quantum principle of superposition, when they are observed by a higher entity, will will continue to branch into different timelines that we call worlds. Now, star rail happens on the imaginary tree on different branches. For example, this is Yarilo 6. Okay, don't mind the how it looks. It's important to get the idea behind it. We have Yarilo 6. This is one of the worlds. Here we have another world where the Herta space station is located. And we know that the space station is located near a planet called the Blue. Here we have another world, which is the Shenzhou Alliance, the Shenzhou Lofu. Here we have another world, which can be Hokangakuen 2 or GGZ, especially since they share a lot of similarities with Honkai Impact 3. I would imagine that the world of GGZ is much closer on the imaginary tree to the world of Honkai Impact 3. And somewhere here, in the depths of the imaginary tree hidden by HoYoverse, is the world of Genshin Impact. And this all is the Honkai Universe. It's a single universe. It's not a multiverse. That's a translation error due to Honkai Impact, or like I said, translating world as universe. There is indeed a multiverse, which is mentioned in the files of the Eon 9, the Eon that presides over the path of nihility, but we know very little of things that are outside the Honkai universe. There is indeed, in GGZ, we have some beings called the Outer Gods, which are very, very powerful beings that we know that come from the outside the imaginary, the Honkai universe. And in Star Rail, it's implied that eons can travel outside. They are at least some of them, they are multiversal beings that can travel outside the Honkai universe. And we are not sure, but there is a likelihood of, there's a pretty high chance of the Leviathans to be exiled outside the Honkai universe by the Eons. If you don't know what Leviathans are, they are basically creatures that that are older than the Eons themselves and used to soar the skies of the Honkai universe and threatened to devour the living worlds. And to stop them, the Eons arised, with Klipot the Preservation being the first of them, and we know that they created a barrier to keep the Eons outside the living world, and we do not know and if this barrier basically keeps them outside the Honkai universe, or only it's somewhere only in the Honkai universe, but it covers only the living worlds. So there's a possibility that Ouroboros the Voracity, which is both an Eon and a Leviathan, who is known to be the only survivor, they might also be outside the Honkai universe. with a maybe. So yeah, in very, very simple terms, this is how it works. Thank you for subscribing, Sir Pansalot. I really like that name. So basically, Star Rail connects different worlds that are part of the Honkai universe in the imaginary tree. Yes, through the Trailblaze, through the Star Rail, which again, it's a railway created from by Akivili. The Trailblaze, using imaginary energy, has the ability to travel between different worlds, and we know that the Star Rail can travel only to a select few worlds that Akivili visited in the past. For example, it can travel from the Herta space station through Arilo 6. It can travel from Arilo 6 through the Shenzhou Lofu. We know for a fact, due to Welt's dialogue in Star Rail, that it cannot travel to the world of Honkai Impact 3rd, because it's not on the Star Rail, because Akivili did not visit the world of Honkai Impact 3rd to establish a connection with it. So we know that from Welt's dialogue, we know that the world of Honkai Impact 3rd exists somewhere on the imaginary tree, but it's not on the route of the Star Rail, and that's why Welt can't return home. Because as much as he loves adventuring, I'm sure that he also wants to go home and see his friends and his child, but we know that he can't, because the Star Rail can't connect to the world of Honkai Impact 3rd for now, and he has to wait to either connect at some point or find another way to return. So even the Astral Express can travel to only a select number of worlds that Akivili visited in the past. So the train is not the cosmic juggernaut, right? No, it's not. They are different, because timeline-wise, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. I think that the biggest stretch that you can make to say that they are the same thing is to say that the Astral Express was originally the cosmic juggernaut from another world that is parallel to Honkai Impact 3rd and was modified by Akivili, but even that is a big stretch. So yeah, they are not the same. This is interesting because the Lofu is a moving ship, so once Akivili was there, it doesn't matter if it changes location, the Astral Express can still go there. I don't know. The way I see it is that Akivili was in the world that the Lofu was happened to be at that time, so maybe that's how they managed to get there. But again, the powers of the Eons are very strange, and they are through manipulating imaginary energy, you can basically do anything. So maybe that's actually true. I have no idea to tell you now. So the Cosmic Juggernaut is a more OP space travel transportation. I mean, you can travel between the worlds with the Cosmic Juggernaut as well, but from what we saw, it functions a bit differently from the train. It's more like we see in chapter 15, right, when Otto does the experiments with the Cosmic Juggernaut, that it's more like it can open portals to the imaginary tree, the Sea of Quanta, or different dimensions, but they cannot directly travel with it. But I can also see that if some of the scientists like Nagamitsu or Tesla or Einstein try to repurpose the Divine Key and make it into a train, I think that they would be able to. And don't get me wrong, I think that the Astral Express was inspired by the Cosmic Juggernaut, and maybe at some point, as we see in the Reborn 2 concept trailer, they were meant to be one and the same, but I think that now they are different. Yeah, so this is how it works pretty much. So I'm very excited for this Wednesday for Star Rail to come out and have a chance to play it for myself. Also, well said that it comes with a blunt companion. Do you think we're gonna see Void Archive sometimes in the future? I mean, most likely yes. With the amount of teasing VA got from Welt in Welt and his dialogues, and even Himeko and some of her dialogues, I really think that we will see them in the future. Was the imaginary tree surrounded by the Sea of Quanta? Yes, basically we have the tree which is constantly branching, right? And outside the tree there is imagine it as a puddle of water, which is the Sea of Quanta. Which here you have water, which is the Sea of Quanta, which basically surrounds the entire imaginary tree. But I didn't mention the Sea of Quanta because that adds an entirely new layer on the cosmology, and it makes things even more complicated, and I just realized that I ruined the whole graphic. But whatever. I think you got the idea. But I plan to do I mentioned in my previous stream, for those of you who weren't there, since January I've been doing research for a video to explain the whole Honkai Universe. And I want to do that video going very in depth on it and explain the relationship within all the HoYoverse games, including GGZ, including Genshin Impact, and of course Honkai Impact Third and Honkai Star Rail, and how they connect. And I want to tackle everything, the imaginary tree, the Sea of Quanta, what's the difference between a proper world and the imaginary tree, what's the difference between that and a bubble world in the Sea of Quanta, how there can be multiple types of bubble words that can be the regular bubble words or bubble universes, how they are translated in Honkai Impact that are reflections of real words. There can be artificial bubble universes that are created by different entities, like the candy house that the sugars have, like Sumeru that Su had, and there can be bubble universes anchored with an ether anchor, which again, it's a very mysterious thing that we know that is capable of mimicking what the imaginary tree does, and create order to all the chaos that is in the Sea of Quanta and prevent the world from decaying. But that creates another problem, because we saw with Durandal and her visual novel that because the world she went to was a bubble universe with an ether anchor, but that unfortunately brought the Honkai there, because the world was stable, and now the world is anchored to Durandal and Rita. So yeah, there's a lot. Honestly, that sounds like a 10 hours long video, lol. I mean, yeah, I'll try to explain it in around 20 minutes. But yeah, but it's gonna be a while, maybe a month or two, because I want to focus on Star Rail for the foreseeable future, and I still have some Honkai Impacted videos that I want to bring out before that. But yeah. Also, I'm gonna stream Star Rail on release. I don't really know at what hour, but I would imagine something similar. And we are gonna summon for Cele and her light cone, and after that, we will explore the space station and try to assimilate as much lore as possible. So yeah, I think today or tomorrow I will set up the stream for Star Rail also. I don't know how much I'm gonna stream it, because I don't want to stream my whole experience, because if I were to do that I will probably cut up with the main story in 6 months. But I do want to do some stream and to explore a bit of the lore of the game, and the different areas, and what they can offer lore-wise. I'm still trying to figure out an hour that is okay for everybody, because I feel even though streaming at this hour is very convenient for me, I think it's not that good for a lot of my subscribers and people who like to watch my content. So maybe I will do it a bit later, I don't know, I'll have to think. But yeah.
未来に思いを巡らせると歩みはより確かなものになるわ。
Anyway, I think this was it for me. I'm going to grab some food and continue working on some videos. Hope that this stream was helpful for you in any way, shape or form, in learning more about how the Honkai Universe works and how Star Rail is related, or even the analysis on chapter 36. And like I mentioned, I will be streaming. So the schedule is like this. This Thursday a new Star Rail video will come out. Wednesday we will stream Star Rail. I think Tuesday we will stream also Star Rail. And the next Saturday a new Honkai Impact 3rd video will come out. And the next Sunday we will do another Honkai lore discussion stream, but we will talk about Star Rail. And we will talk about Act 2 and Act 3 of chapter 36 the week after. So in 2 weeks. So again, thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you guys this Wednesday when Star Rail releases. Take care, bye bye.